Good morning, it's Urban Scroggs, and this morning I want to talk to you about my CO2 system. So let's begin with the tank. This is a 20-pound CO2 cylinder. I get it refilled at a local welding shop, but you can also get them refilled at beer brewing and wine brewing supply houses. Sometimes they can refill them. I use industrial grade gas. You can use food grade gas. The only difference between industrial grade and food grade is the lubricants that they use in the processing of the gas. And since none of that's going to touch my plants, then I'm really fine with using the industrial grade gas. From the tank, we go to our regulator. Now, this is a dual purpose, actually maybe three purposes if you really want to get into it, regulator. First, it lowers the CO2 pressure. CO2 pressure, depending on temperature, etc., 1200 to 3000 psi, generally around 2000 psi. This drops it down to maybe 2 psi, 10 psi, very low psi. But the other two parts of this are just as important. So we have our flow regulator. This flow regulator, when the valve turns on, you can see this little green marble. It'll float up in the air and you can tell how much gas is coming out at a time. I only have a 3-foot by 3-foot tent. I need very low flow. So this is adjusted right here with the CO2 regulator knob. I can adjust how fast or how slow the gas comes out. If you have it coming out too fast, you'll overshoot your numbers. So if you're setting it at 1200, it'll shut off at 1200, but it's already released so much gas that it might be at 15 or 1600 parts per million when you're done. So if you're overshooting your regulator, your controller, try turning your flow rate down. This part of the regulator is the solenoid. The solenoid has a cord that plugs into your controller. The controller turns the solenoid off and on, and that controls the flow rate or the flow into your tent or into your grow room. Right now, I'm only running CO2 in my tent, but when I have multiple tents, if I ever get multiple tents, that takes money, I plan on running the CO2 into the entire room. Anyways, let's get to the third part of this. The third piece is the controller. This controller has a sensor probe on it. The sensor probe goes in your tent or the area that you're trying to monitor the CO2 on. You set it at the high and low limits. So it'll turn off at 1200 parts per million and it'll turn off or on at 1100 parts per million. And you can see I overshot but just by a little bit. 1335 is not a bad overshoot, so my flow rate's pretty good. What I didn't show is coming out of the regulator is a black plastic hose. This is just 1/4 inch thin-walled plastic flexible hose that runs to the area that you want the CO2 to go to. So when the controller says, give me gas, it turns on this solenoid. This solenoid lets gas flow from the tank through the regulator to this black plastic hose into my tent. And that is how I run CO2 in my tent. So anyways, I love you guys. Thanks for listening. This was a long one. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments or send me a DM. It doesn't matter. I try to answer everybody. And love you guys. I hope you have a great day.